Uh-oh.
What ho, what ho?
No, we're not. Are we live? Oh, that's
I
weird.
think so.
I guess LinkedIn, I got an error message from StreamYard. So LinkedIn was not cooperating. It's probably my connection here because I'm having issues with with Twitter today too. So anyway, what's happening, buddy? We were out yesterday. I was getting, we have an upstairs shower in our master bedroom that was having some tile issues and some leakage issues. And so I had people working in chaos here yesterday. So I just thought it was stupid to try to do the show in the midst of all that chaos. So, but the shower is now fixed. So we're good.
Bravo.
Yeah. It looks nice. They did good work. If anybody in Miami needs a tile guy, let me know. Message me. I got you. I got you the man. Santiago.
He's got to work down his tab. He's got to work down his tab at their place. So still message Brad.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm going to take
it's our new show sponsor, Santiago Tiling.
I'm going to take that glorious referral commission.
Just tell them we set up an info at Santiago@whatever.com. And then anybody with the messages that we get a commission from Santiago.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Dude, ETH is blowing up.
I know.
It is
looking
beautiful.
Good, man.
Looking fucking great. 1736. Like, whew.
Everything's looking great,
But for the last week, it's like way outpaced Bitcoin, hasn't it? Last couple of weeks.
I think so. Yeah.
7 days, 13.77%, 30 days, 45%. And then Bitcoin at 5% for 7 days and 15%. I mean, ETH is blowing the doors off. I love Bitcoin, but I like seeing the smart contracts flourishing. So
yeah, I'm super happy for this too, of course. I mean, look, this goes back into above 2000. I mean, I just see the enthusiasm picking up in all the channels. But the doubt is receding a bit. So, when you get that enthusiasm, people commit money back into the markets. A lot of people are on the sidelines in Staples.
Yeah.
In a lot of the chats I'm in, just waiting. I mean, they're doing selective DCAing and, what they see as unique opportunities. But for the big ones, they've been kind of like holding, trying to get confirmation on this. And when it moves from 900 to 1700 while you're waiting for confirmation, it tends to start creating that good old FOMO activity. So I think we could be on the start of something nice here.
I'm hopeful. I mean, considering the fact that yesterday we had the rate hike, but then this morning we had our I haven't actually looked at it, but I think we had our technical recession confirmation. Of course, the Biden administration tried to redefine recessions this week, which is hysterical and just stupid strategically. But
look, I'll touch on that one too. I don't think that there is in an aberration market like we're in, where there's so much liquidity that's been pumped in. I mean, I was looking at the charts on the Treasury balance sheet, and it was like 4 trillion pumped in the pandemic, which doubled it. So I think it's very hard to say that we're in a recession, just because I think that measurement tool is not accurate in this market. So, but half the people you talk to, nobody even knows what a recession is. Everybody goes, "Oh, recession bad," but go on the street to the sidewalk and talk to somebody and see if somebody can explain it to you.
Yeah, but there's a mental thing that goes along with it. That's why I think they were trying to come out front on it and try to keep it from becoming, because when people hear the word recession, they just think bad. They don't know what the fuck it means, but they think bad. And so I think they're trying to prevent kind of the mental switch off. The interesting thing was, one of the things that they're claiming for why it isn't, and I'm trying to find this, I wish I had saved it. They were trying to claim kind of the job creation stuff, but somebody pointed out in the last three major recession moves, there was positive job growth just prior to it happening. So anyway, look, I don't think personally that we're at a place where we're in the dumps. You know what I mean? I think all the other numbers are like really pretty good, and I agree with you, but I think they're trying to get out ahead of kind of the mentality of it. But at the end of the day, all it does is make them look bad. I just think it was not a smart thing to do, to go kind of try to change the current definition in most people's minds of a recession.
Just a test here, Brad. What is the definition of recession?
2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP.
After all revisions. So what we haven't seen yet. So when I look at the charts right now, I see, it depends. Wall Street Journal says the economy didn't contract last quarter. New York Times says it did. I don't know who's right. Yeah, I kind of go with the Wall Street Journal on that one myself. But the point is that there'll be revisions. And even if it was that number that New York Times is reporting, it's like less than it was in the first quarter. So, it's not like this is where you tip into the recession. The question is, are we already in it or not? Yeah. And if we are, I'm glad we are, because that's what sort of means people aren't spending. You look at the Walmart sales number from a couple of days ago when their stock sold off. It's because consumer spending in Walmart's is down like I'm just going to try to remember, but I think it was 13%. So that shows that it's already having an effect. And that's why the Fed yesterday said, look, we only did 75 bips. A lot of people thought it was going to be 100 or 125. And we're kind of thinking about going on pause here shortly because they're seeing the good data. And now they don't want to tip it into full-blown contraction.
Right.
But I agree, it's hard when words are used to mean certain emotive things that aren't really a rational answer. It's like people hear inflation and they go, oh, bad. People hear recession and they go, oh, bad. Yeah. The whole key is not to have both at the same time. And I think that's the real fear here. Yeah. So we'll see what happens, but I agree. It's hard to change definitions on the fly.
Sean made a good point back on the BTC ETH thing. He said, same percentage down from the top, BTC and ETH. And he said, be very careful here. And there are a lot of folks that think we're still going to have a big dump downward at some point here. But Sean's correct in that it's the same percentage down from the top. I get it, but I do love seeing this ETH excitement over the merge, and I think it bodes well for the long term. So long term, I'm excited about where we're headed. And look, more dump peoples, more discounted prices on Bitcoin and ETH. So
well, I would like to see. I get that off the top. Off to 68 and the 5,000, I guess. 69. So what I'd like to see is what it looks like off the bottom. The chart because I see more capital going into ETH right now, or they would be scaling at the same percentages, and they're not right now. So, although that being said, this is kind of more subtle. I was looking at some charts in one chat this morning that was laying S&P 500, NASDAQ 100 on top of BTC and ETH, and the dollar index, and it's amazing how correlated everything is.
Yeah.
So. I think to Sean's point that you might get these moves where everybody's anticipating on the September 19th merge date, and you see capital going in for that kind of strategic event, but then it rotates back the other way to BTC, or other capital rotates in. So it kind of goes, up and down and up and down. But I do love the enthusiasm too.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, real quick, since we had a message from Sean, I listened to this great interview yesterday between Peter and Udi on what Bitcoin did. That's his show. And it was about the role of Bitcoin maximalism. And it was a really thoughtful discussion. I'll put a link in the show notes to it about maximalism. Both of them. Peter at times has called himself a maximalist, but is shying away from it because of kind of the general attitude culturally, and in that space. But both of them had an intelligent conversation about it. Both of them love Bitcoin. They're Bitcoiners, but both of them also talked a lot about how silly it is that having a token is something that makes people call it a scam, and et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, great interview. I encourage everybody to take a listen to it because I thought it was really thoughtfully done. I'm sure there are enraged Bitcoin maxis everywhere screaming at Peter about what a traitor he is, which they do every time he has a conversation about this. But really good, great interview, lots of great insights. So encourage everybody to take a look at that.
Yeah, I saw a good article in New Yorker magazine a couple of days ago on Celsius. I'd recommend it. There's a great write-up there, and if on all of it, which is, there's interesting points to be made to your point about like, oh, a token scam, and you see how different people have different perspectives. But I recommend everybody Google that up and read it. New Yorker magazine, Celsius, because it has a lot of good content in there about the space.
Send me the link if you can.
Yeah, I'll put it in the channel.
Cool. Sean also said, he thinks you will get to buy ETH between $500 and $600. And then he said, 100% Joe, everything is the same trade now. And that actually brings up something else. I talked a lot about, and everybody talked a lot about the fact that Bitcoin, was going to be this big hedge against inflation. With the current correlation, I don't think we can really go there anymore. Currently, short term, maybe long term.
I think it's, I think that's the goal. And I haven't looked at gold's behavior. That's the goal for Bitcoin, to be that anti-inflation thing. And I haven't looked at gold, GOLD, in a while, which is a traditional anti-inflation play. I'd like to kind of curious how that's behaving in the last couple of months. But I think Bitcoin long-term, medium long-term, is that anti-inflation play. And I think it beats gold because of its portability. So, yeah. So to me,
the portability is definitely a factor.
Yeah. So I don't look at it like right now, look, they're all discorrelated. We want them to decorrelate, I guess. And we do see decorrelation when we get those nice cycles of the blow off top in BTC and then the cascade down through ETH into alts and then back out. Right now, I think the market just, as he pointed out, or as Sean pointed out, it's all the same right now, the same trade. So you're not getting those disconnects as much. But like I went in and put some more money in the Geist FTM pool. First time I've been in a pool in a while, 90% interest. I'm like, who cares? You got to go look for stuff that you think might survive or will survive long-term now that you're trading in. Or just trade the names and don't worry about what they do.
Yeah.
But that's two different things, two different approaches. So you have to, compartment it in your head so you don't contaminate each strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So a little bit of politics, but I have a tie to crypto, so I'm going to talk about it. My man, Andrew Yang and the Forward Party. The Forward Party is merging with two other third parties, Sam and what's the other one? I forgot what the other one was called. Renew America and Sam, both started by Republicans and has brought in, and they're merging into the Forward Party. And he's brought in Christine Todd Whitman, the former governor of New Jersey, as his co-chair, Republican former governor of New Jersey as his co-chair. The entire point of this is centrist focused. And to break up the duopoly. So I'm actually pretty excited about this. They have more money in the bank than any third party in the country today. Their plan is to go, all 50 on ballots by next year in 30 states, all 50 states prior to the 2024 election cycle. They already have some endorsed candidates in Congress, in congressional and gubernatorial elections for this year. Some libertarians, some Democrats, some Republicans. The entire goal of this is kind of this centrist, pragmatic approach to governing. 62% of Americans, I apologize to my our foreign listeners, 62% of Americans want another party, and they want out of the system we have now. And so they're going to be focused a lot on election reform, ranked choice voting, et cetera. But the other thing they'll be focused on is crypto. And less regulation of it. And I interviewed Andrew for Mission DeFi, and we talked about his cryptocurrency lobbying, DeFi lobbying called Lobby 3D. So go check out that episode if you want to kind of hear and understand what they're doing to educate and lobby members of Congress to try to have a more hands-off approach to DeFi and crypto. So anyway, that's that.
Look, yeah. Two things. One, crypto is I hate to use these words, but it's a national security technology. This is key to competitiveness for the next 100 years for all the major economies. You do not want to be left behind on this. I think you want to lead it. So I applaud these efforts by these lobbying groups, and I particularly like this political party. Honestly, I was totally blindsided. I hadn't heard of that at all because it's drawing equally from Republicans and Democrats. Why this stuff always stalls out is because you get like the Greens will pop up and, you know, it's all going to be leftist progressives, basically. Yeah, that might be a misnomer, but they're all going to be toward the left, and it's going to take votes away from the Democratic Party. And then, you know, some Republican candidate gets in because of that. You know, it happened in the past. That's how Clinton got in when Ross Perot did his thing. So It goes both ways. So when you have equal, I'm getting at when it goes, when it's one, then the party and everybody, the centrists kind of go, wait, I don't know if I want to do that. But if it's coming from both sides, and then the centrists just claim the middle, you know, that works for both parties too, and it gives us what we want. We kind of could get a, I mean, I don't want to call it like a kingmaker party, but it will have that. You won't be able to form a ruling government without that party's involvement, and it moves us more toward parliamentary type coalition building houses and Senate and Congress, you know, which is a good thing.
Yeah, well,
So,
you know,
I
a
love
lot on the left yesterday were screaming and yelling that it's going to take votes away from Biden. They're going to put Trump in office, blah, blah, blah. Here's the interesting thing about Yang during the campaign. And one of the reasons I supported him was his support was extreme left all the way to the most hardcore right-wing Trumpers. Like it was extreme ends of the spectrum. And the reason was not from a political ideology lineup, but from a pragmatic solution lineup. And there were tons of people that were supporting him that didn't even support UBI because all of his proposals for solving problems were actually pragmatic rather than ideological. And the data, so all these people freaking out were like, you know, there's no way Yang's going to take party votes away. This 42%, this was, the question was, will you vote for Democratic nominee? This was during the last presidential, if it is not your candidate. 42% of Yang supporters said they would not. The reason is those were Trump supporters that came over to Yang to vote in the Democratic primary. So this effort is got a huge potential, as you said, for Republicans and Democrats on both sides to fracture up the two-party system and to actually gain real votes and have a potential leg. They haven't even announced that they're going to nominate a presidential candidate yet, and they may not. But if they do, if it's Yang, if it's Whitman, if it's Yang Whitman, if it's whomever else it might be, this has a ton of potential to make a dramatic difference in the U.S. political system, which obviously there's an impact worldwide with American politics, especially as it relates to the US dollar. So really interesting stuff. Anyway, I encourage everyone to check it out, take a look, see what they're doing. If you're an American and you're interested in kind of changing the system, that's my last little bit of political plug today.
Well, you could see that, you know, look, the Sandinistas were one thing, you know, with Bernie, and a lot of them, you know, defected to, you know, become Trumpers, economic populists in the general election in 2016.
Yeah.
But Yang, I'm surprised. I guess it's because there's more his crypto positions pull in more libertarian.
Well,
people are true believers.
Well, I will tell you, the hook that got a ton of Trumpers into his campaign was UBI. But that word of mouth from Trumpers went out to other people on the Republican and the far right side, and they came in, and he had 110 detailed, like pragmatic problem-solving policies in his website. Like, I mean, a level of detail that I've never seen in any political campaign before.
I find that super interesting for one reason, just because, you know, one of the big problem with the grieved politics, as I call the groups that's been left behind, is they rail on everybody else for, government and the administrative nanny state. And they, think that they're all self-sufficient Marlboro men. But here what we see is going on is they're all flocked to Andrew Yang because of all of his social policies on his website. And I find that incredibly encouraging.
Yeah.
Kind of people are starting to realize that you don't have to stand out here on a rock alone in the desert and, bang a pan on your head. There's help out there for you. And you're not weaker for going in and taking advantage of the platform that you live in. So I'm glad to see that.
Well, and the cool thing was look, I started my career in politics. I managed political campaigns for the first 8 years of my professional career. And I have been actively engaged and involved in politics ever since, which is a very long time. And I have never in my entire life, amongst the thousands of people that I watched and interacted with during the Yang campaign, have ever seen a group of supporters more deeply to the detail level engaged on policy discussions than I saw during that campaign. Though everyone went through and read the actual solutions to problems that he was proposing. And look, he was aggressively pro-nuclear. He was he was not like left progressive. And there was a lot of stuff that was based on eliminating existing, bureaucracy and crap and simplifying things, which even UBI was. UBI was, let's give them a check instead of making them jump through fucking hoops or not get a job because they can't qualify for welfare, right? I mean, there's all kinds of. Anyway, I don't want to spend the whole show on this, but I'm very encouraged about this. I'm excited that these parties are unifying. I'm excited that Republicans and Democrats are going to lead this effort. I think it's a good thing for American politics. So anyway.
Well, the proof is in the pudding now. Go fucking execute.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what they have to do. And so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, back to crypto DeFi. Fantom community has decided to use the burn fee to fund ecosystem projects. So they are going to take, I believe it was unanimous, like 99.75% positive votes for this policy. It wasn't just a couple of whales voting for it. The vote ended early because they hit 55% quorum. They're going to take currently they burn 30% of all transaction fees that come into the protocol. They are going to take 10% of that burn and put it into funding projects in the protocol, which I think is a really good way to do it. They still retain a 20% burn rate. And now the 10% is going to go into supporting and building and growing the ecosystem. And so I'm really glad to see this pass. This is good shit.
Yeah, I mean, we're all Fantom fans. I was in there. Sorry, I'm on an open mic, and if anybody hears any background noise, some environmentals happening. But I was in there digging around, looking at Spirit and Spooky, and just in general what's going on in Fantom. And there's a lot of, look, transaction fees. It's like less than a third of a cent, or less than a penny in there. I mean, this network is primed. This layer one is primed. I bought more today. I guess that's what I'm getting at.
All right. Pump it, Joe. Anyway, that's great.
Not news. Like I didn't go in and buy 20 million. Okay.
Anyway, it's great news. But on this note of a community vote, I put out a tweet yesterday apologizing to the community of Lido, however you pronounce it, because after my little rant the other day about some DAOs needing some republic structures or adult supervision, I discovered that the reason that the vote to sell part of the treasury of their token to investors, to VCs, Dragonfly Capital, was because there was no vesting period on the buy. So that's the reason it failed. I should have dove a little deeper into that than the 5 minutes before the show started to understand why that vote was failing. I since saw an article yesterday saying that that's why that vote failed, and that's smart. And so now there's a new vote being put up for a 1 year with a 1 year vesting period for Dragonfly to be able to sell those tokens. So now I think that Dragonfly is smart enough not to dump all that at once anyway. And this is a longer term investment they're making. But, I have to give credit to the community for saying, wait a minute, let's put in the controls on this thing just to be safe.
Yeah, thanks for fact checking, Brad's fake news.
Nobody fact checked me. I fact checked myself.
No, look, we pull information on the fly here. So obviously we can't hit every bit of in-depth nuance on that. But vesting, yeah, that's pretty key on that one. So, I mean, it's good to the community for picking up on that, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. A couple of things. Euphoric said the British left and right political paradigm is in desperate need for reform for many of the same reasons. Yeah, but I will tell you that what we need is we just need more parties to be able to break up the power in Congress. If we just had, I mean, you look at it today, one Democratic congressman, senator has held hostage any passing of bills in the Senate. And if we had, 20 or 15 or 10 represented by other parties in Congress that could force compromise, we'd probably get a lot further along. Niblet said, I'm worried the hate and fear that is the GOP brand will prevent more of them from peeling off in the booth. I think there are enough moderates quietly who voted GOP in the past who are available and out there to move into the party. And I will tell you that I was thoroughly shocked by Andrew Yang's ability to talk to the far right. So anyway, we'll see what happens.
Let me jump on that one for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
The hardcore sort of economic populist part of the Republican Party is I believe about 30% of the electorate, which I think would make it about 2/3 of the party. So 1/3 of the Republican Party are people that vote on party ID or party loyalty, but don't necessarily agree with the policies, or at least the way it's spoken about and referenced, and that red meat kind of political messaging. They disagree with that, and I think that they're open to cross-party voting, voting for independence, building coalitions. And I think that's you see it with like the Liz Cheneys and the ones that will stand up to it. I can make the call right now. I could see Liz Cheney running for president on the Republican ticket within 2 election cycles. I think that it shifts back because, I think the same thing could happen. This 30% of the electorate could peel off and do its own party because they don't really think they're Republicans because they hate Reagan too. So, you can't hate Reagan and be a Republican. I'm sorry. It just doesn't work that way. So they might form their own party too, and then we get 4 going. That's what I'm kind of. I don't like the far right messaging. I think it's kind of dangerous, but I get the grievance perhaps, but maybe from the economic standpoint. But I just don't like pointing at everybody else and blaming everybody else for your problems.
Well, this is why I advocate for ranked choice voting, because that fractures things out. It makes it a level playing field for any candidate running. It makes it so that voters don't have to pick one over the other. They can rank their votes for different candidates and give the opportunity for candidates that might not see the light of day to actually win elections. Hey, I was looking at this site called Terminal, terminal.co. This is really cool. If you're thinking about investing or getting engaged with the DAO, it's basically a tool, and they don't have a ton of coverage yet into every DAO, but it's a tool to check the health and wellness of a DAO. Everything from social media growth, members of the DAO, active members of the DAO, they have an overall scoring system that they've developed to score an existing community, their treasury insights, what they have, what the token price is, overall market cap, treasury holdings. This is a really fantastic tool. I'd really like to see it encompass a lot more DAOs. I'm sure it's a fairly manually intensive process right now that they're building, but it'd be really cool if they launch or if they have an API that all DAOs could connect into, because this is really powerful data for helping you make longer term financial decisions, or if you're making a decision to invest your time in a project, it's a great way to get a feel for how the project's doing. This is a really well done tool. I'm really impressed with it. So
interesting.
Yeah. Shows the proposals, the voting, how many people are actively voting, how many people are creating proposals, how many people have voted over time. So it's a really good dashboard tool. They just need to expand to more protocols, but really like it a lot. good shit.
Well, this is interesting because this could be an execution risk measurement analytic tool of some kind, because it seems to me like the only way these DAOs work is if you have a smart, active community voting intelligibly on proposals. And if this is showing that, I mean, that's kind of like, they used to have these groups, I want to say like, what was it, the advisory board or the shareholder board or something? There were these groups that would go around and rate public company management teams. I'm sure they're still around. I just haven't looked at it in a long time. And you would use that in your analysis of whether or not you're going to take a position based upon how that management team was scored, particularly vis-a-vis its competition. So this type of thing, you're looking at these DAOs, you could, just like we look at other metrics, like what was it, market cap to TVL, for instance, in the DeFi space, the protocol space, this would be something to add into that. However they score as another measurement indicator. Yeah,
absolutely. There's a new protocol that's, I guess, launching soon. I've climbed into some of their Medium documents. The way they talk about it is interesting. Anyway, it's called Pharaoh protocol. It's pharaoh.fi, Pharaoh. And they call themselves the modern way to trade ancient assets. Essentially, it is a synthetics-based commodities and Forex exchange, which, kind of ties into what, Gaines is doing, and GMX, which is the darling in the space, who just passed 50 billion in trading volume yesterday. But the idea behind it is you'll be able to synthetically trade all kinds of commodities, Forex. And they've also talked about doing some interesting things like betting and trading against global warming pace, or other measures of kind of things in nature. So really interesting. They don't have a website yet. It's just their Medium posts. But the articles are well written, and the thoughts behind them seem to be, everything seems to be well thought out. So very interesting. And I'm going to keep an eye on this, because I'd like to, I love these synthetic trading protocols.
Wait, so how are they, how are they ancient assets?
So commodities, gold, oil, whatever. I think they're just trying to be clever with the tagline.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Just in general, commodities on the CME, I think, is what they're doing, and they're probably setting up some kind of oracle to get the pricing data from the CME and maybe for other foreign exchanges. But I think that's the whole idea: is anything traded on the CME, you can come in and trade here synthetically.
Yeah, well, you better be talking to people. At this point, you don't want to get any, this is going to be a good one, but tricky one. Yeah.
Well, look, at the end of the day, you don't want to be US based if you're running that protocol. That's for sure. So,
yeah. No advice, obviously.
This is strange to me, but I think we're going to see more of this. These kind of niche focused blockchains. This is, I get the idea behind it. I just think the effort to build your own blockchain around it is a bit much and not necessarily needed when there are plenty of blockchains that you could utilize for this. Things like, doing a subchain on Avalanche or BNB, or just putting it on Ethereum. There's plenty of opportunity with this, but the idea behind this new chain called Topel, who just raised 15 million, is to allow companies to track their sustainability measures. I guess it's a way for companies to be able to reference on the blockchain that they have taken certain actions around climate, around diversity, whatever, and have a specialized blockchain just for that purpose. I'm assuming there's a big need for it, because they're developing an entire platform around it, and they raised 15 million now and 3 million previously. So, and I think niche cases are going to happen more and more. I just don't know if there's a need to manage the entire infrastructure of your own blockchain for it, when they're, it's certainly something you could store on another chain. Maybe there are some privacy issues there. And so they want to encrypt data in some way. I don't know all the details, but anyway.
Do they have the ability to trade out carbon credits like Clima?
I don't know. They say tracking water usage for industrial processes, confirming the cold chain for COVID-19 test kits, and monitoring the global journeys of sustainable products.
Yeah, it sounds like bullshit. Sorry.
You should call it Mercury, Republic Asia, or Cryptology Asset Group, because they've all ponied up.
I know. Look at that,
15 million.
Mercury, Goose Capital, and RevTech. Honestly, I think I've heard of Mercury, but I haven't heard any of the other ones.
Look. Key customers of Topel's blockchain protocol include B Carbon, a non-profit carbon credit registry.
There you go.
There you go. Now Joe likes it.
Well, no, the more the merrier, but I'm like, why, to your point, Brad, why build a whole chain? You've already got a platform, Clima there, that's functioning with big partnerships like with Polygon and others. And they've got that enterprise dashboard for corporates that have clients. Yeah. To me, I would figure out a way to, how do you fit into that infrastructure already, or move up next to it to lever what they have already pre-existing to use on your platform? But spending all the time and energy to do a new chain, and then it seems like they're really only talking about, tracking, like you said, water usage and the movement of sustainable products, the global journeys of sustainable products. I mean, I thought they were sustainable. And the cold chain for COVID-19 test kits, I mean, was this written a year and a half ago, or something? I mean, does anybody want to see that in a prospectus at all, or in anything right now? Does anybody want to think about COVID? No, we're sick of it, man. Yeah. Come up with a better use case.
I have no idea. I can't find a website. But,
again, I think, look, we are all an innovation sandbox. So the more the merrier. I don't know if I'd be putting my money there.
Well, they are going to release the token. There's going to be a private sale.
Okay. Well, that's probably why you do a chain. It doesn't have
you could do it as a protocol too. Yeah. I mean, maybe from the perspective of what they're tracking and being able to certify things, they want complete and total control over the chain, so that companies, enterprises can say, I absolutely can verify and validate that we have done A, B, C, and D, either for shareholders or for government regulatory compliance or whatever. And maybe what they want is to keep it separate and pure and clean, so that reporting capability for these enterprises allows them to know that nothing could fuck it up. So maybe that's the motivation behind it.
It might be more like you said too, that, I think it's E&Y has that global food safety blockchain project. It's E&Y or KPMG. And then I was also talking. Okay, and I was talking to some of the guys at
or EY
Sentient. I don't know if anybody has ever checked out Sentient, but it's like a food additives, like smells, flavors and smells and tastes they add to products, but they source a big chunk of it from indigenous peoples, around the world, and they don't displace them. They keep those traditional manufacturing processes in place. And because we're talking about how to record data on blockchains to certify it, from that dye is coming from the tribe that makes that dye in, I don't know, Brazil, Botswana, wherever. So I could see that they could piggyback into things like that. So I think what they're saying is water usage, monitoring that, and then monitoring, I guess water must be used in that cold chain COVID test process, and then tracking sustainable goods around the world.
It looks like they actually partnered already on a project with Media Sorcery Inc. They developed a solution called Cold Chain. And the idea was tracking COVID tests from manufacturer to the patient, because so many COVID tests were spoiled during the height of the rush to get everything out. So,
so that's logistics, supply chain. I mean, that's good.
Exactly. Yeah. I could see, I'm starting to be persuaded that there's a case to be made for having a separate blockchain to keep the data clean, to make it compliant. That level of control over what's on it and what's not might make more sense. And that may be why they went for this approach. I don't know.
It makes me think of the encryption thing, where they built their own chain.
Exactly.
to protect their data a certain way. I mean, but I think the messaging is a little goofy on this Topel site. Like, I mean, they're really about, it sounds like, water usage and supply chain issues, because sustainable products and COVID-19 testing process, two separate things, but the tracking of it is the same. You know, the where is it in the process is all the same. So to me, that's, you know, I'd be talking a lot more supply chain, logistics, tracking, efficiencies, queuing theory, all of that. You know, getting better, cleaner products to market faster that also sustain third world indigenous communities. You know, pick it. But there's something here, like you said. And because of the investors in the Asia focus, it sounds like it's more international investors that, so they're probably really thinking from that perspective. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
but
supply
again,
chain management, supply chain management and certification methods. So blockchain as a service, traceable, transparent, secure, scalable.
So then take that
you can buy
solution and sell it to all these corporations. Yeah.
Look at this, $50 a month, mid-market challengers and clients with existing platform, free access to testing net, multi-user access control, direct customer support, 100,000 daily API. Wow. So they're definitely sassing this up. That's okay. Now it's getting more interesting, Joe.
Yeah.
This isn't vaporware.
Well, and they're in the US too. Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to unclick him. Yeah, you're right. No. Niblet says there are dozens of medical supply chain blockchains. Near all of them evaporated. Yeah, it's interesting. They've got a little bit of traction. Look, they've already got customers. So that's good. Fair Food. I don't know any of these others, but you know, it's interesting.
Well, see, the thing is, there looks like there's some meat behind this, that when in the initial approach, we're first looking at it, you don't see that, or at least I didn't see it.
No, it was horribly done in terms of how they sold it in that press release.
But what about, do they have who the management team is?
Oh, let's take a look.
Like about us somewhere?
Topel team.
Yeah, I see that. See, this is...
Managing director is named Chris Georgian. Oh, they all met at Rice University together.
It's a good school.
Yep. They started in 2017.
See, this is what I want to see, this stuff. I mean, but I look at stuff a different way. So
here we go.
I mean, this shows real team. Yeah, I guess they just sort of think everybody knows that.
Yeah, if you've been doing it for 5 years, grinding away at this shit. Wait,
there's a lot of shit. Click on Jackie Wynn's bio. I think I might know her. Can you click on Jackie Wynn, the top left? See it.
Also Jackie Pham.
Oh, let's see. No, I don't know her. I thought it was another one. Another Jackie.
Oh, they need to update the website. She's no longer with Topel.
Oh. When did she leave? 2 months ago?
It's May.
Yeah, that's not a good sign.
No, it's not.
But again, like you said, they've been around, they're growing, so it's a little bit chaotic always. Who is this? Who is this, Aaron?
Chief Growth Officer.
Aaron Murphy. Equity Research Summer Dignity. Where'd she go to school?
I'm sure she's Wharton.
Undergrad? Or is this just a certificate?
I don't know.
These fuckers always, I mean, not her, but I'm seeing these people always going Wharton and Harvard, and you go and look.
And she's got an MBA.
There you go. And she went to Carolina. Yeah. All right, good. All right.
Yeah.
UNC.
Anyway, I think this actually is a good point. Talking about researching these projects is getting deeper into the teams, understanding what their experience is, what they've done, what they're capable of. Another great way to kind of addressing the fundamentals. Of course, if a team's a non, it's a little tougher. You just have to take their word for it. But as we kind of advance and mature even more as a space, this is one of the ways to do it. You want to know my other secret way of getting intelligence, Joe?
Tell me.
No, never mind. It's okay. You don't have.
No, I was going to share some of my tricks. Yeah.
Job boards.
Oh, that makes sense.
I follow a ton of job boards. I look for projects, what they're hiring, then I read the descriptions and I dive into what they're hiring those people to do. what kind of projects they're planning for them to head up with. And that'll give you a lot of insights into unannounced strategies for projects and protocols and companies. I spend a decent amount of time every week on job boards, job Telegram channels, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't really do that kind of research. I was thinking more along, like, my strength is always penetrating organizations, like getting into the C-suite or getting into the board and getting to those. What's her name again? Aaron? Hold on, let's see.
Now.
There we go.
Let's not do that.
No. But my thing is that, I mean, you took it misogynist. I was just trying to give you a way out. But with a chuckle. But the idea is that, you got to research these teams and you figure out who they're connected to, but then you ping them different ways. There's different ways to message these people, and just kind of, I don't want to give away all the secrets, but just kind of think creative about ways that maybe you messaged when you were younger and that nobody uses anymore.
Yeah.
And you use channels like that. And all of a sudden, I mean, those old guys look at that stuff. So
I'm going to do a thread on using job boards to get intel.
Yeah. But also you look at stuff like that, obviously the general searches, the people, and then I always look at the people on LinkedIn to see how they present their backgrounds.
Yeah.
Is it fluff, or is it real? And like the chief growth officer we just had up, Murphy, look, when I start seeing Wharton MBAs and Harvard MBAs all over the place, that tells me a couple of things. One, that there's money behind this project. Two, they're giving out stock options and stuff like that to get those people on board. So they're thinking long term, and they're building a real team. So it's not like a pump and dump. It's not like a fly by night. It's, building from now. They could still screw up. Don't get me wrong. A lot of times these guys are too systemic or too systemized for pivots and things like that in the early stage, but look like they already have a team of 50 people. So
absolutely.
I don't know how many. I don't know if I put 3 Wharton MBAs in a room to do a startup, but I would definitely hire them to run the shit for me when I wanted to stop looking at it.
Speaking of that, UPenn's Wharton School rolls out an online certificate course on business in the metaverse. Only cost you $4,500 for 6 weeks for 50 lectures.
I thought that was pretty cool. I when I saw that, I think you put it in the thread. I was like, all right. I'm not saying that everybody has to go to this program to learn how to make money in the metaverse. But if you're coming in sort of not from a big tech ground or a big crypto background, and I don't know how much the certification would help you get gigs, but you would definitely learn all about it, because these are not fly by night educational organizations. These are top tier.
And this is a great way to onboard, any corporation that is concerned about missing out. Right. This is a great outlet for them. It's Wharton. It's got a good brand behind it. Go and get your people signed up, and Wharton makes a nice chunk of cash, and you get people on your team that have some insights.
And look, if you're independent or you're operating in space, I'm sure that's continuing education credit too. So that means tax deductible.
Niblett said he DM'd the Coursera CEO with a UX complaint, and the CEO replied to him. That's cool.
Wow.
Nice. Very nice. So anyway, that's cool. And then speaking of, I'm doing all kinds of segues here. So there is a massive online course, MOOC. Where'd it go, Joe? Another course. Entrepreneurship in, I'm never going to be able to find it, am I, today? Because
wasn't there a Seinfeld episode where Costanza was running around going,
MOOC? Here it is. So entrepreneurship in Web3 at Berkeley. Now, what was interesting was I was looking at who the people are that are doing the course, and Dawn Song is doing the course. And I'm like, where do I know that name? Why do I know her? And I realized she was the founder of the Oasis blockchain. And I'm like, you know what? I haven't heard a friggin' thing out of that blockchain in 6 months. Like, what the fuck's going on with them? So I went to take a look, and it looks like Oasis has pivoted a bit. So they were a privacy-focused, high-performance blockchain. Now their entire website is about the Oasis Parcel SDK. Didn't dive deep into this, but my assumption is they weren't getting enough uptake on onboarding protocols to the chain. And so the approach they're taking is screw selling this as a blockchain. Let's sell this as an easy to use SDK that allows you to gain privacy for your existing kind of traditional applications, SaaS applications, by connecting to our SDK. Underneath the engine is Oasis, but Parcel as an SDK is the front marketing thing to get people engaged with it. So you don't have to use the whole blockchain for everything. You can just use it for privacy protections, I guess. But I find it really interesting. I didn't see any announcements about them pivoting. I didn't see anything about it. Now, this is what's interesting. Look at this customer list. Meta, Genetica, Nebula, the Music Fund, Capitalized Crypto Safe Alliance. But you and I know these folks in this world. We've talked about them before. But Meta AI coming on board is very interesting. Because it makes sense if you're doing AI stuff and you're giving it to users to be able to provide a way to encrypt and secure and privatize the data and have a third party that can kind of certify it for you. But anyway, I just thought this was interesting because I was getting a big push from the Oasis team to put them on the show, but they wouldn't put Don wouldn't come on. So I was like, well, fuck it. I want to talk to the founder. I want to talk to the person that's,
So is she not there anymore?
No, I don't know if she's still here. Let me see.
Well, can I ask a question? Forgive me, but were we just talking about Oasis earlier on the show, or were we doing that?
You and I were talking about it before we came on. Yeah.
Okay, got it. I just wanted to make sure we weren't.
They don't.
That I'm not let go.
They don't. Oh, they don't list their team anymore. They don't even list the team.
Not even under About Us? No, you're in Teams. Got it, yeah.
And when you go to her profile, she doesn't have Oasis in her bio anymore.
Yeah, she's probably running ahead of the. Did they do a token raise?
Yeah, they had tokens, and they raised they had like a $300 or $500 million fund behind it.
Yeah, well, we can see why it's being erased from her bio. Sorry, man. It's too easy. It's just too easy, man. Just too easy.
I have a feeling I'm gonna be down a little research hole here on this one because I'm really curious about how this transitioned and why. And look, I actually don't think this is a bad idea. Like, if you've got this privacy-focused blockchain, why not get companies connected to you first with this privacy SDK and then expose them to all the capabilities of the blockchain? It seems to me like a pretty good way to connect people into what you're doing, especially if you can get big enterprise and corporate customers to come on board and actually be using the blockchain and not even really think about the fact that they're using the blockchain, right? Because then that opens the door to all kinds of models. So
yeah.
Interesting.
Well, also what's interesting is since they're servicing the Fortune 500, that means whatever they're doing has to be data compliant with whatever the regulator overseers think it's supposed to be. So that's going to be, I want to see how this could be the optimal solution is what I'm getting at, enterprise grade privacy product that's still compliant. Because you do need, the corporate espionage market, the corporate intelligence market is huge. I mean, you don't think every company's jockeying to see what the other companies are trying to do and running teams at other people on the other companies to co-opt them and get dirt and find product and whatever. This is super important because you need to protect that stuff, not just from foreign adversaries, but from internal ones.
That's right.
So this could be pretty cool.
Well, and it's interesting because they were previously doing all the traditional stuff, trying to get DeFi protocols on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So somebody, probably their investors, said, look, you're not going to get there this way. Let's try something else. But I think it's cool. Joe, I got to wrap it up.
Yep.
Everybody, we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining in. Niblets, Euphoric, Amen, Sean, thank you so much for your participation and your comments and your thoughts. Everyone, if you get a chance, please, please, please give us a review on Apple Podcasts. Just to do a quick web search, you can log into your account, boom, give us a review. It'll take you 3 minutes. It'll help us a lot. Subscribe, rate, review. Subscribe, give us a thumbs up, click the little bell on and make comments on YouTube. That's always greatly appreciated. If you have thoughts or comments, B05Crypto on Twitter or Telegram, B05Crypto #2143 on Discord. I hope everyone has a great afternoon. Joe, take care.
You too, buddy. Thanks, everyone. See you tomorrow.